What's up, everyone? Welcome to FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time. I'm your host, TJ Zwarsh, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, for the second straight Sunday in a row, it's looked like we got a little routine, a little crew forming. I got Christy Metzer. Creighton, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I know, 2 times in a row. Great to do the show with you guys, talking a little football pre-show, and nice little interesting 3-game slate actually for a Sunday.
Yeah, you'd think typically on a 3-game slate it'd be pretty boring, not much going on, but we have just one of the best game stack spots of the season between the Raptors and the Hawks, and then we have Portland, whose entire team is questionable, and ready to help us break that down. I got Shiver Me Timbo, Tasteful Tides. Tim Buell, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, I don't have any Kelsey in my single entry team, so I'm not liking my chances. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of news for this little NBA slate we got going on. A lot of strategy how you want to front load or back load your lineups. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting to break this down.
Yeah, I'm with you. So on that note, why don't you give us kind of a slate overview here, because there really is a lot to break down. And so those watching us on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And Tim, why don't you give us a little breakdown?
Yeah, so early on we had RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly ruled out, so we immediately and Jakob Poeltl, so we immediately got quite a bit of Toronto value, and so we were kind of all over guys like Gary Trent and Dennis Schroeder all day, and then we got the midday questionable on DeJounte Murray, and then he was ruled out probably about 10-15 minutes ago, so that's going to open up some usage for Atlanta. But I don't really know what to say about Portland. They literally have, I think, 4 people questionable, and they're all really, really important pieces of their team. I don't have a lean really as to what to do with that. But that is really going to be very important. Like, if you want to keep, you should probably keep like 2 or 3 spots open, and be able to switch to some Bulls and then maybe switch to some Portland, depending on how the news breaks. But I mean, that's in my opinion the most important part of the slate, is how you kind of construct your lineups so that you are prepared for whatever Portland nonsense is pulled later in the night, because that game starts 3 hours later than these 2 6:00 games, so it's going to be a while before we get that news, I would imagine.
And it's one of those weird situations where, with Simons, Brogdon, Grant, Walker, and Henderson all questionable, if Simons and Brogdon are out, Scoot might be the best play on the slate. If Scoot and Simons are out, Brogdon might be the best play on the slate. Same for Simons, etc. He's a bit more expensive, so maybe not on the same level, but still. FanDuel is, of course, Crunch Time. FanDuel's not presented by Crunch Time. Crunch Time is presented by FanDuel. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Those of you in the great state of Vermont now have access to the FanDuel Sportsbook as well, with a special offer. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets on any market. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And if you have all those bonus bets, you can use them with our brand new props and pick 'em package. The experts at RotoGrinders team, projections team, take our premium stats, comb through the market for any inefficiencies using our model. You can easily see which lines are off, where to find them, and how likely the prop will hit based on our tool. You can also now try out the props and pick 'em package on a 3-day pass. This will auto renew at the monthly rate at the end of the 3 days. Use the link in our description for your 3-day pass on the props and pick 'em package right down there just below. Let's start out at point guard. Tim, why don't you take me through a cash build, and then Christy will take us through a tournament build. We'll go FanDuel first, followed by DraftKings, and then we'll take questions. Discord live stream chat first, YouTube chat second. Smash the like button, those of you watching on YouTube. It really helps us out. It's a 3-game slate on a Sunday. Come on, we're bringing you free content, and we want to keep bringing you free content on these small slates, and we need the likes to be able to do that. So Tim, why don't you start us off at the point guard position?
Yeah, so the clear and obvious choice is going to be Dennis Schroeder at 6,100. Like I said, we lost a lot of those key pieces to Toronto, so they're pretty thin tonight. So guys like Schroeder are going to be looked upon to play some extra minutes and get plenty of extra usage. Your second point guard spot is a lot more tricky. I want to say play Trae Young, but he's pretty expensive. What I think people should do is possibly play Kobe White, and if Simons were to miss, you could pivot down, go to Malcolm Brogdon instead, because I really like Kobe White anyway, but I would like Brogdon more if Simons sits. So you might want to bypass Young and Cash and play, and then lock in Kobe White, and then if you get that news break, go down to Brogdon. I think that's what I'm going to do, but I absolutely love Trae Young as a tournament play. So I don't know. It kind of depends on how cheap you want to go. If you want to play Young and Cash, I don't think he's an absolute must. But he's obviously a great play. But I kind of like going that Kobe White route, and then if Simons misses, going to Brogdon. Shooting guard, Bogdanovich is in the starting lineup. That just got announced, so that's what we were expecting with Murray out. 6,300. I think he's definitely cash game viable. Gary Trent is your cash game lock. Not that he's a lock, but you definitely have to play him in cash. He's 5K. He's going up against Atlanta. We want to stream guys against Atlanta all the time. They are one of the fastest paced teams in the NBA and one of the worst defensive teams. So I would consider Gary Trent a core cash game play.
On that note, does that mean, obviously we were playing on FanDuel, you have to play 4 Raptors in cash. Does that mean Thad Young is likely the guy you're leaving off, who is starting at the center position today?
Yeah, probably. It's probably I'm leaving off Thad. But it's either him or Bruce Brown that I would leave off. But it's pretty close. Yeah.
Small forward position then after that.
Yeah. Small forward, yeah. So I mean, it's either Bruce Brown or Thad that you're doing, but small forward is, Scotty Barnes is my favorite play on the entire slate. Out of any of the players, so Scotty's number one for me. Then it can be Bruce Brown. I also think that it could be Sadiq Bey. If you're not playing Bogdan at shooting guard, then you can play him at small forward also. I also really like Jalen Johnson, but that might just be a tournament play. He's probably not cash viable. He's too expensive, but I absolutely love him for tournaments. I also love DeMar DeRozan. He is cash game viable, but I just think that it's better to pay up for Scotty and then get somebody else in the mid range like Bruce Brown or Sadiq Bey. Power forward. If you're not playing Scotty at small forward, switch over, put him in your power forward spot. Yeah, I guess we are leaving off Thad. I guess it's Thad that we're leaving off for cash games on FanDuel anyway. And then Franz Wagner, 7,300. I think he's a solid play. Jalen Johnson, power forward is not great. So Jalen Johnson, if you have the money, I think is pretty solid. But yeah, power forward's not like the strongest position. So it might be better to use Barnes in one of your power forward spots instead of small forward. Because you know that you have to play him in cash games. Center's not a great position at all tonight. We're not used to seeing that really, but it's pretty ugly at center. So I think you're just going to be putting in Nikola Vucevic if you have the money. If you don't have the money, I guess you can play Clint Capella or Kongwu. But if I would try to get to Vucevic if you can.
I think that makes sense. I'm interested at this power forward position specifically. Christy will obviously go position by position, but with power forward being such a weak position, and we have Jeremy Grant listed as questionable, Jabari Walker listed as questionable, is this maybe a spot we want to leave for Portland? Because if just one of these guys plays, they'll probably look really good. If both of them are out, I wish some of these punts had power forward eligibility, because I guess Kamara is not looking that great either. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think leaving some for Portland is a great way to go, just because there is so much uncertainty and so much value in the first game. But even looking at the point guard position, I think just because of all the value now, there's definitely some guys that are going to go overlooked. I know Tim had mentioned Kobe White. I mean, I think he's just a great play. Levine is still out. He's definitely priced up. There's a ton of value, so I like that play quite a bit. And yeah, Trae Young was looking like a really great, cash and tournament play. Again, because of the value, we're seeing him probably not going to be as popular. So I like both of those guys too. Also at the guard position, and I wrote him up as a contrarian play too, but I think Devin Booker is going to go extremely overlooked on a 3-game slate, and he's just absolutely been killing it. He's getting up there in price, but it's worth it. He's put up a ton of points lately. He had 62 points the other night. And so I think that's a really interesting tournament play. And then maybe waiting and pivoting for some of that Portland value in there, I think is a really, really good way to go. So he's someone that I definitely have interest in. I still think in tournaments, looking at the forward and guard position, Scotty Barnes is definitely a core for tournaments and for cash. I just think he is. With no RJ Barrett, they are just so thin. And I think Tim put it in the expert survey today. It's Scotty's team now, and we should see him do some significant damage there. So I like both he and Bruce Brown. Think they're good tournament and cash game plays. I do think, you're not going to see guys like Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero played much either. Again, just naturally the builds are going to lead you elsewhere, and they are priced up. So I think they're fine tournament plays as well. Getting to the forward position, I do have some interest in Kevin Durant. I mean, he really gets the biggest usage spike among the Suns and we have Beal. Beal is in, correct? Beal is in.
Yeah.
I just got that word. So Beal is in, but I still have interest in Durant. Again, because we have so much uncertainty there, no one is going to be looking to pay up. So I don't mind going to Kevin Durant. And I think at center, we've got Eubanks in the starting lineup. That lineup just came out. So I have interest in him. I have interest in Thaddeus Young. We talked about him. But Vucevic just makes a ton of sense at the center position, and someone that I'm definitely overweight on in tournaments.
Yeah, I like it. And I think with going back to a cash build here, what I plugged in on the side with talking about, we like Kobe White and we can swap it to Brogdon. And you look at we like a guy like Jalen Johnson if you can afford him. And then you look at that center position, how much money you have left. There's a pretty clear cash build over on FanDuel if that's what you're looking to do today. Let's make the pivot here over to DraftKings. And as we're doing that, I want to bring up as well, check out SimLabs. Whether you're playing NFL tonight, some NBA, SimLabs is the expert DFS lineup generation tool from RotoGrinders and Fantasy Labs, and now you can use it for both NFL and NBA. With a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups for whatever contest type you're playing. Running out of time before lock, quickly build a set of lineups to fill out your entries. Want to see who might be falling under the radar? Use the tool to examine players the field might be sleeping on. And all combo subscribers have access to both NFL and NBA Sim Labs, while sports-specific premium subs will have access to the corresponding Sim Labs as well. Tim, why don't we start at the point guard position? Who are you liking today in cash?
Yeah, very, very, very similar setup from DK to FanDuel. Dennis Schroeder, first guy in for me at the point guard position, 5,600. Going to be way too cheap for the role that he's going to have tonight. Scotty Barnes, but I'd I think I'm going to put him at small forward. I'm not sure yet, but either way, he's going in your cash build 100%. So that's clear and obvious. I think I really like Kobe White, like I said. And then same thing goes. You can pivot down to Malcolm Brogdon if Simons is out. So you can pull that same move on DK. But Kobe White's a fantastic play either way. I think he's cash game viable. Again, Trae Young, he's expensive. If you are comfortable playing Barnes and Young together, and you feel like you like your team, then you should do that. So that's kind of like the close call for me because we don't really know what kind of value that we have for Portland yet. But Young is in a fantastic spot also. Shooting guard, Gary Trent and Bruce Brown are definitely in your cash games. Bogdanovich also. Bogdanovich is only shooting guard eligible on DK. He does not have small forward, so you should probably put Bogdan in your shooting guard spot and then Brown in your small forward spot. So that's really it for me in terms of shooting guard. That's pretty easy for cash. Small forward. So I don't think that the rest of the industry has Dalen Terry starting, but we do. We have him projected for, I believe, 22 minutes. If he gets that amount of minutes, then I think that's fantastic. We'll at least have the Portland news and we'll have the Chicago starting lineup for that, so we can adjust our teams if we leave a couple 2v2s or 3v3s. But he would be definitely a cash game piece if he starts. If you didn't put Scotty in the point guard, you're putting him at the small forward position. Power forward, same thing with Dalen Terry. He's power forward eligible. DeMar DeRozan, he'll probably miss my cash game bill, but I'm certainly not going to fault anybody if they want to play him in cash. Same thing with Jalen Johnson. He's probably going to miss my cash game build also, but he's a fantastic play. I'm probably going to go the cheaper route and go with Dalen Terry or hopefully some kind of Portland value piece and perhaps even Sadiq Bey. So I haven't completely made up my mind on power forward yet, but projections want you to play DeMar, but I want to prioritize some other expensive pieces. So I'm not sure if I can play DeMar or not. Center, it's probably Clint Capella or Nikola Vucevic or Thad Young. So I think my preferred play is Thad at 4,900. But if you have the extra money, I wouldn't mind getting to Capella.
All right, we got some strong plays there. It's tough to pivot too much in tournaments on a 3-game slate, Christy, but starting at the point guard position, who we liking?
Yeah, at the point guard position, I do think, again, Trae Young is going to carry less ownership just because of the cheap builds and some of the Portland value that we're waiting on. So I still have a ton of interest in him. I think Alex Caruso is another name to throw in there too. He's actually been playing really well. He's still priced pretty cheap, and so gets you a little bit different value there. So I don't mind him in tournament builds as well.
And the beauty of Caruso is because that's later in the night, you're probably playing him in the guard or the utility. If the Portland news falls a certain way, Brogdon's out, Simons is out, you can make that direct pivot to Scoot Henderson.
Exactly. And that's really what I'm glad you brought that up, TJ, because that's really what I'm looking at too, is just maybe some different Chicago guys that you can get and then flip out for Portland. So that's a really good point there. Kobe White, same difference. I like getting to him. Or DeRozan. I think, like you said, DeRozan is kind of finding its way into cash builds, but I do like Kobe White a ton. I think that's a great play. Back to, I mentioned Devin Booker at shooting guard. Still someone that I have a ton of interest in. He's now at that 10K price point, but he's definitely worth it. And so interest in him for tournaments for sure. Someone that I have a lot of interest in. Getting to the forward position, I really like the call of Jalen Johnson, and he's priced up there, but this game makes perfect sense for him. Getting exposure to Atlanta, I like going up to him rather than going to Sadiq Bey. I think Sadiq Bey is more of a cash play, but Jalen Johnson's more of the tournament play. And so I have a ton of interest in him. Great upside for him tonight. I think on a cheap piece too, you could use Chris Boucher. He's just 3.6K, and he's a really good pivot off of Dalen Terry or someone like that. And, he's certainly, very cheap, but I mean, we've seen some ceiling games in him before. And if we can get the minutes and enough out of him, he could certainly smash for us. So I think in tournaments, definitely someone that's appropriate. And then center again, I think, Vucevic is someone I want to get up to for sure. But I think Capella is fine. I think Eubanks is fine. Young was set to be definitely more popular. And then also throw Wendell Carter Jr. in there too. He's in that first game of the night, but he's been playing well. He certainly has had his price move up a little bit as well. But, we have him projected for 32 minutes, and I think he's someone you can get exposure to in tournaments.
Two other players I'll throw out there for tournaments, actually three, because I saw one of these questions in the YouTube chat about Andre Drummond. You're playing a lot of lineups, $4,400 Andre Drummond. I think that is totally fine, especially against Portland. Think of how easy this could be a blowout against Portland, especially if all these guys blow out. So Drummond, very much in play for tournaments. DeAndre Ayton is like one of the very few players who is not questionable for Portland, and he's picking up less than 10% ownership right now on a 3-game slate. And then finally, Jonathan Isaac, I think, makes for an interesting cheapie to go with. He got up to 22 minutes last game with Orlando, and if we're going to get sub 4K Jonathan Isaac playing 22 minutes, I think he's got a lot of ceiling there because he put up 16.25 fantasy points with no steals or blocks. Think of how seldom we get games with no steals or blocks from Jonathan Isaac, especially when he's getting above 22 minutes. So I think he definitely has a ceiling there. We got 7 minutes left till lock. Get your questions in, smash the like button, and hopefully we'll make a little bit of money tonight. Time to start taking some questions. Dalen Terry or Onyeka Okongwu at power forward, not stating a site, not stating format, but assuming it's tournaments, Christy, from a point per dollar standpoint on DraftKings, are both really, because they're differentiated and kind of like the same amount. So for tournaments, who do you like better, Terry or Okongwu?
I think I'd still go Terry just because he is so cheap and doesn't have to do a whole lot. We have him projected to start, so I think I'd still go Terry.
And that additional flexibility later in the night with being able to swap around. I agree with you there completely. What about Markelle Fultz? He has a good history against Phoenix. You playing any Markelle Fultz, Tim?
That's not a name on my radar at all.
Christy, how about you? Any Fultz?
I don't either. I do have some in that Orlando game. I do have some Wendell Carter Jr., but no Fultz for me.
DraftKings cashed him, Gary Trent and Kobe White, or Thad Young and DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, those are both really, really good. I think I would go Trent and Kobe White.
Dalen Terry is a good matchup. I'm keeping him on FanDuel, and he is cheap. I agree with you there, my friend. QQ, FanDuel cashed him Trey, Eubanks, and Gordon, or White, Vucevic, and Terry. That's got to be that second one.
It's the second one.
That second one, that is the FanDuel Cash lineup today. You play that lineup in FanDuel Cash. That's the one. Thoughts on Duop Reith on the DraftKings MME, Christy?
Yeah, I think he's fine. Again, we don't know what some of that looks like later on, so I think that's fine in MME for sure.
How about Ayo Dosunmu for a DraftKings tournament, Tim?
I think there are guards with better ceilings, to be honest with you. I guess he's okay because it's such a small slate, but I question his ceiling.
DKGPP, Christy, Capella, and Ayton, or Trey Young and Jalen Johnson, or Thad Young and Jalen Johnson.
Okay. I think I like Jalen Johnson quite a bit tonight. I think that Jalen Johnson, Thad Young.
Very next question. Are you fine with playing Jalen Johnson and Capella together in a tournament?
In tournaments, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially on a 3-game slate. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. 4 minutes left to lock. Get your lineups in. that has done it for QQs. So if you have any other questions, make sure you get them in here. But that is it for now. Smash that like button. Tim, who would be your favorite DraftKings captain and FanDuel MVP for the showdown tonight?
DraftKings captain.
Yeah, and then FanDuel MVP.
All right, so FanDuel MVP, I think it's Brock Purdy, and then DraftKings captain. If you don't want to go C-Mac, the last I looked, Deebo Samuel was getting like next to no ownership at captain, and so I really like him as a contrarian captain showdown tonight. I wrote him up in a survey.
Christy, you're nodding your head. You look like you like that call as well.
I do. I was going to say that was actually who I was going to say too, Deebo. I just feel like he's the forgotten guy just because, he's been questionable all week, but I think the upside is huge for him. So I love the Deebo.
Andrew Martinez asking how many players from the Toronto-Atlanta game are fine to play in a single lineup. If you've seen the movie Mean Girls, my friend, you would know that the limit does not exist. You can play as many Atlanta and Toronto players as many as the sites will allow you to play tonight, because that game could very well put up 300 points tonight. There's not going to be a lot of defense played, and it's going to be played at a pretty fast pace. That looks like that is it for questions. Good luck on NBA. Good luck on NFL tonight. On behalf of myself, Tim, Christy, and the entire RotoGrinders team, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we will see you tomorrow for some more NBA content. And why can't I find the right credits? Come on, I did that so perfectly. I timed it out so nice, and I can't find the right credits. Look at me here. Why can't I find the one with Christy? Well, everybody knows Christy was on the show, and she did an amazing job as per usual. But I'm sorry that your name is going to have to be Taylor today because the Christy credits are not there. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hit the like button on your way out. We'll see you tomorrow.